If you're in the market for a guitar that plays well above its price point, is reliable, dependable, and gives you maximum bang for the buck, but does not come with a huge price tag, you need to have Sire guitars on your list of contenders. In this video, we're going to be checking out the Sire Larry Carlton S7 and seeing what this thing is all about. So Sire Guitars are a company that you may know better for their basses. They've been in the bass market for quite a few years, but in recent years they've actually taken a little step into the guitar world. And now the company actually has quite an impressive array of guitars on offer. And the S7 is actually one of their models. Now this is obviously a guitar that makes no kind of qualms as to what it's inspired by. This is a classic shape that we all know and we all love. But Larry Carlton has used his expertise along with Sire to design guitars that really do give you a huge amount of bang for your buck, because this guitar actually retails at under £500 in the UK. But what you get for this is a lot of guitar for the money. In this video, we're going to be breaking this thing down and seeing what makes this thing tick. This might just be one of my favourite sub £500 guitars that I've ever played. So before we dig into the specs of this thing, I just want to let you guys know that this is not a sponsored video. I'm not getting paid for this video, but this guitar has been provided to me by Lee Anderton and the guys over at Anderton's in the UK, who are the official UK stockists for the brand. But all the thoughts and opinions you're going to hear in the video are my own. So, spec-wise, now obviously, like I said, this is a classic S-type design that, you know, it's not hiding what it's inspired by. It's inspired by a classic guitar that all guitar players know and love. And you might not be too surprised to find out some of the specs of this thing kind of match the visual aspect. So we have an older body, and this particular one has this really high gloss finish with a 3-tone sunburst. Now, this sunburst is slightly different to the guitar that it's based on, because on the guitar that it's based on, you tend to have more of the black coming through. This leans heavily on the orange with a little hint of red going to a very thin burst of black around the edges. It's a really well applied finish, and I can't really see any issues with it looking up close. It looks great in person, and I'm hoping that the grain on this is actually translating to the camera as well. From what I can see, the body is the same thickness as what you'd expect anyway, and it's not the heaviest guitar on the market. It's got a bit of weight to it, but it's, you know, I've certainly played heavier S-type guitars than this. Top of the body, we've got a HSS pickup configuration. We've got a humbucker there in the bridge and 2 single coils. These are Sire's Super ST pickup set. So I'm guessing these are pickups that Sire have designed for this model. This particular one comes with a tortoiseshell pickguard, which I love because I think all sunburst guitars should have tortoiseshell. We've got a single volume, a single tone. The tone control is a push-push switch, which activates a coil tap for the bridge pickup, so you can turn that into a single coil. And then we have a 5-way selector switch, as you'd expect. We have a 2-point non-locking tremolo, and the input jack is on the side of the guitar. This guitar is also available in a couple of other colors as well, which you can see from the links down below in the description. Bolt-on neck, but this is a roasted maple neck, which I really, really like. I'm a big fan of roasted maple because the maple roasting process kind of takes the moisture out of the wood, makes it a little bit more rigid. And as someone who tours a lot, that is a really useful feature, because when you're touring, you're going from different heats and different humidities, can make a big difference to your tuning stability. This guitar also has a roasted maple fretboard, but as you can see there, the fretboard is actually got a high gloss finish. That's probably one of the specs that I don't like about this guitar. I would probably prefer that to be a non-gloss fretboard, like the back of the neck, which we have this nice satin roasted maple look. I would probably prefer that to be on the fretboard as well. The fretboard on this is a 9.5-inch radius, and we've got these medium jumbo frets. On the topic of the fingerboard, the other thing that Sire do really well is, and it's not going to show up on camera great, but the fretboard edges on this are really, really rolled. So what that means is, instead of the fretboard edge having a corner at the top and bottom where the fretboard edges are, they actually roll them in slightly. So the neck actually has an inward curvature at these points here. And what that means is when your hand is playing, you're not getting any sharp corners digging in your fingers. So it actually makes the guitar feel more kind of worn in, which is something that, you know, if you ever get the chance to play an older guitar or a vintage guitar, they will be rolled because they've naturally worn away in time. So what Sire are doing is they're kind of recreating that feeling straight out of the box. So the rolled fretboard edges are a really nice touch, because as soon as you pick this thing up, it instantly has that kind of worn-in feel. It doesn't feel like a brand new kind of stiff out-the-box guitar, which I think is a really nice thing. Especially as a gigging player, I like that worn-in feel on an instrument, and Sire have nailed that with their fretboard rolling. Again, sticking with the traditional spec, this is a 25.5-inch scale length as well. Up at the top end, we've got the Sire headstock shape with the shiny Larry Carlton inlay on there as well, as you can see. And this also has some locking tuners. These are non-branded ones. They're just Sire's own locking tuners, but they seem pretty stable. I've played this guitar quite a bit over the last few weeks, and it seems to hold tune pretty well. I've not really had any issues with those tuners. So spec-wise, you know, it's an S-type guitar with a HSS pickup configuration. What Sire are doing really well here is they're not reinventing the wheel. They're not trying to change what this guitar is. They're just offering their own high-quality take on this instrument at a fantastic price. And I do quite like that, because it's really easy as a guitar brand to take a classic design and try and go way off track with it. I think Sire have done really well to kind of keep this, you know, in the ballpark of what we know and expect from this kind of guitar, but without it being very unfamiliar. And the other thing I do want to mention, actually, where they have done something quite cool, is the neck heel here. You can see there's a recess to the neck heel, which actually gets quite thin here on the treble side. So obviously when you're playing high up the neck, there's a lot less of the neck heel here to get in your way. And also there's a bit of a scoop here, as you can see, on the lower horn. So your hand just has that little bit of extra movement when you're up at the top, especially when you're getting right up to that 22nd fret. Your hand can tuck right in there without the body or the neck heel kind of blocking you. But yeah, spec-wise, that is all there is to say about this thing. So I'm going to plug this in now and we're going to hear some sounds. So gear-wise, I've got the Larry Carlton S7 plugged into the Blackstar HT20 Mark III, which is currently on the clean channel, but I'm also going to be using that for the overdrive in the video as well. And the amp is running into the 2 Notes Torpedo Captor X. So we're going to start with some clean tones. So I'm going to start just at the bridge pickup. I'm going to play clean and move through all 5 of the conventional pickup positions, and then we'll talk about the coil split later on. clean tone of this is actually quite nice. It's quite punchy and vibrant, which I really like. It's got a nice cut to it, so if you were playing this live, this would be a really great guitar for kind of cutting through the mix. That bridge pickup is quite punchy because it was actually pushing the amp just over the edge of breakup. The bridge pickup when you play clean is actually, I don't want to say hard to tame, but you do have to play a bit softer to get it to kind of clean up, but those single coils are incredibly clean. So that's a really great sounding clean tone. Then we've got the push-push switch here on the tone control, which when I push that down, it pops up and now it turns this into a single coil. What that's going to give us is a bridge pickup that's going to be a little bit thinner and brighter now because this is now functioning as a single coil. So now that's actually going to clean up a lot better, but now we have access to that very classic position 2 setting here. We have a single coil here and here on together as well. So now I've gone to the overdrive channel of the Blackstar HT20 Mark III, and I'm going to go through all 5 pickup positions once more with the coil split off, so we're back in humbucker mode for the bridge pickup. Pickups in this are actually really well balanced when you play with overdrive, at least to the way I like to hear a set of pickups. The bridge pickup has a slightly darker sound and it's a bit fatter, which is great when you're playing riffs. And then the single coils complement that really well with their cut. Even the neck single coil, there's no mud at all, it's still a really crisp sound. particularly like the way they've managed to voice the in-between positions as well, because I do find sometimes position 2 and 4 can get quite muddy when you add some overdrive. They've managed to retain that clarity there. Now, the bridge pickup split with overdrive. So I really like the way that bridge pickup splits, because sometimes when you have a humbucker with a coil split on, it can get quite thin and almost have, you know, a huge volume drop and become quite unusable. But that is actually a really usable coil split. So if you're playing live with this, that would actually work great. And it's still got quite a big usable tone to it. And then obviously if you want to fatten that up, you can use the tone control to do that. The final thing that we haven't talked about is the tremolo system. And like I said, this is a 2-point non-locking tremolo. So obviously when you're using this, you know, treat it as such. Don't try and do some Floyd Rose style dive bombs or pull-ups, because it's not really designed for that. You can set these systems up floating, and this has a slight float to it. And obviously if you want that Jeff Beck thing, you have to set it up with a slight forward tilt so you can pull up a little bit more. When you're using any non-locking tremolo, the same rules as always apply. If you're going to hammer them, they're going to go out of tune. Now, this has actually come set up out the box pretty good. I haven't really abused the tremolo as such, but it's held tune pretty well so far. But what I would suggest is, you know, these are a sub £500 guitar. If anything on this guitar is going to cause you an issue, and, you know, God forbid it does, I hope it doesn't if you buy one of these, and I haven't experienced any issues, but if anything is going to cause you an issue on a guitar in this price range, it's going to be the tremolo setup. Now, this has come really well balanced out the box, but what typically happens is the nut on lower price guitars can often not be cut correctly. So if you do have any tuning issues with the tremolo on this, this would be your first point of call. Now, obviously, if you're getting one of these from Anderton's in the UK, the guys at Anderton set everything up before it comes out the shop. So hopefully this arrives with you in the same condition that mine has, and it's pretty much ready to go. So I'm just going to play a bit now and just move the tremolo a bit so you can hear what that sounds like. So you can hear I was kind of digging in on it a bit there and hitting the bar. You can actually get that kind of warble sound, which is quite cool. That's quite a fun thing. Now, obviously, I'm probably hitting that a bit harder than I should be, but it's still pretty much in tune. Not actually terrible, considering I was giving that a bit of abuse there. And obviously, you could dive bomb on this. And actually that has held tune pretty good. It's a little bit out, but, you know, it's a non-locking tremolo, what do you expect? But yeah, there you go. There is the Sire Guitars S7. Like I said at the start of the video, this might be one of my favorite kind of bang for the buck guitars. It's under £500, plays great, sounds great. The tremolo is actually pretty good for a non-locking tremolo. Well, I'd say pretty good. It's actually a really good tremolo for a non-locking tremolo, considering the price of the guitar. Now, like I said, if you're going to need to do anything, you're going to need to give the nut a bit of a reshaping if you're having any tremolo problems. But honestly, that's one of the better setup kind of non-locking trems I've ever seen. And I've played guitars much higher priced than this that don't have that option. And yeah, I mean, I'm very impressed with that. That plays great, it sounds great. What do you guys think? Let me know down below in the comments. There's some links down below where you can check this thing out. And I also did a video on the T7 model as well, which is linked in the top corner of this video. So please check that out too. Sire making some great stuff. And like I said, if you're in the market for a guitar, maximum bang for the buck, without breaking the bank, these guys need to be on your radar. Please check these out. Let me know what you think down below in the comments. And while you're doing that, don't forget to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. I'll see you guys soon. Thank you so much for watching, as always.